Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 14 of the anime series Log Horizon 2. And this episode was just all kinds of badass. I gotta say, from right out of the gate, we're finally catching up in the series with Kanami, this much rumored, much whispered about character, hailing all the way back to before the events of this entire series with the debauchery tea party, of which a lot of these characters, Shiro and such like that, were a part of. The group eventually disbanded, and we find out in this episode that, you know, Kanami had left Eldertale for a while. She went traveling abroad in the real world, and she eventually caught up with it again in Rome, and has since, I guess, been involved since the events of the apocalypse, making this Eldertale realm come to life, become real. And so she's basically backtracking east, back to the Yamato server. And I guess, you know, it's because of the inherent mysteries involved, which I love. You know, as we're basically debuted to her character and her little clique that she's traveling around with, there are still mysteries that abound within this framework that all relate to things that Shiro and the other characters have been dealing with as well. And I gotta say about Kanami herself, she is a vibrant, lively, vivacious, if not somewhat impetuous character, most resembling, you know, by look, I've described in the past as being very reminiscent to Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII. And we are introduced effectively to the characters traveling with her. We have Froggy Nardo, as she calls him, a cat named Leonardo, but he's wearing a sort of frog suit, ninja suit thing, and he's an honorable character, I have to say, even though he's faced with certain questions he has to mull over as far as Kanami's goals and wishes and what she wants to do in this episode. We also are introduced to Iri, who is a, you know, he's basically a person of the land, which is somewhat surprising, but he was one of these knights, kind of akin to that Nelreth character from episodes back who went all homicidal, only this guy's much more, you know, working toward a good effort and everything like that. We have Coppelion, who is this maid who, you know, she basically visually looks akin to Roberta from Black Lagoon, but her sort of personality is much more akin to R. Dorothy Wainwright from Big O, in that she's plain stated, she's kind of robotic, and it's, you know, there are hints there in the name Coppelion, you know, there was an anime series called Coppelion, and that's a word taken to describe sort of doll-like, that kind of thing. And we find out in this episode that, in fact, Coppelion herself was a bot, an AI created by money launderers in the China server and all that kind of stuff. And I just love these characters. I could very easily watch a spin-off series just dealing with their exploits within the Eldertale Come to Life realm on the China server, what have you. They are very likable immediately, put it that way. And basically, we're seeing them involved in this raid attack as the episode opens, where they are severely outnumbered. And it takes the intervention of the narrator of the episode, sort of looking back reflectively, KR, of that little group, you know, who seems very ominous. They have some ominous doings, and as the episode begins, we basically see them overlooking a steam train and talking about the Princess Nereha, which we find out, to my surprise, was not a person of the land at all. She's an adventurer, and it's through her hand somehow that she created this steam train for this, you know, town that they're in, or whatever, safety zone, whatever you want to call it. And but it's, you know, still down to Indicus, as she's now being called. In previous dubs of this particular episode, or I should say subs, she was called Intix, but she's apparently more correctly called Indicus, this very ominous figure who wants to rule, I guess, and become the all-controlling power of this Eldertale realm. And she's doing it by blackmailing and belittling, you know, Nereha and all this kind of stuff. We see her being sort of ushered toward the end of this episode through the crowd, being ordered to wave to them and make them all feel good about themselves. The princess cares about us and all this stuff. And it's all, you know, at the beck and call of this Indicus character and whatever ominous tidings she has. We see certain of the, you know, group that she's affiliated with want war. And I think they're trying to bring war to the Yamato server, to maybe some of the other adventurers and such like that, or maybe even the people of the land. Maybe they want an all-out war between adventurers and people of the land, which is insane. But getting back to Kanami's crew, which is the primary focus of this episode, they end up meeting up with this character called Chun-Lu, who I think it would be not too big of a stretch to say she's kind of a loose homage to Chun-Li from Street Fighter, especially with the little bobs of, you know, balled up hair on her head and everything, and kind of the design of her costume, even though it's a different color than Chun-Li wears. But she is basically regaling Konami and her crew with tales of the Urakuru Wolf Brigade, who were going to undertake this big, raid at this place called Tone's Grave, where there are these two ominous boss-like characters, or whatever they are, and a giant black dragon. And previous to this, we saw that Konami's crew, they had been in a town of people of the land, and one of these people of the land had become seemingly possessed, in a manner of speaking, by this duality. I forget exactly what they call it off the top of my head, but effectively when you're looking at the person's tag, their name and their stats, there are two sort of little menus or two little listings superimposed one against the other. So there's two showing up, and it's almost like a duality of the mind. This character was almost demonized and running around going crazy, and they had to shock him, stun him, and try to heal him, which is all down to Coppelion, by the way. She's constantly asking Froggy Nardo, do you want to be healed and stuff like that. I guess that's her focus, and she takes pride in the fact that she can bring healing throughout the game and everything, or at least this realm, not so much a game. But you find out that on this battlefield at, Tone's Grave, all of these warriors that swiftly outnumbered all of the monsters to be attacked and everything like that, they should have had this raid in the bag. But in fact, they were all wiped out. And it has something to do, coincidentally or not, with this duality of the menus and duality of monsters' abilities and everything like that. It's very intriguing because it still calls back to that overall, what's going on in this realm. You have the flavor text making things become real and transforming people, and it's stuff along those lines within this realm that is a big-time mystery. What exactly is happening? Is it actually molding people and controlling people, coinciding with that whole idea of when you die, you lose memories? And is it kind of trying to reformat people and the minds of people like so many codes in a computer, that kind of thing. So Konami, being the impetuous, lively character she is, she's all excited by this. This is a challenge to her. She's like, we got to jump on this. We got to go check this out. And this is where Froggy Nardo, kind of has his questioning. He's not sure he wants to get involved with it. And he's the last one, in fact, to finally decide to join this particular effort because it also coincides with a bunch of these dog men, this army of gnolls, as they're called, marching on the people of the land town that they had just left. And, basically Konami has decided, much in the vein of what Shiro has done, to try to level the playing field between the people of the land and the adventurers, the humans in this environment, and try to keep peace between them. And she basically wants to backtrack and try to save the lives of these people, taking out the gnolls and everything. And Froggy Nardo, I'm going to keep calling him that, is not sure he wants to do this. But of course you have Iri deciding, because he is a person of the land, automatically to go ahead and do this. You have, of course, Coppelion, because she is an AI and she is not a, playable character in previous incarnations and such like that. She decides very easily to go as well. And so you have KR in his horse-like guise, because he's used that, teleportation technique. He basically is the voice of reason, I guess, or he starts questioning Froggy Nardo, and that's what puts the bug in his mind that he wants to live up to the precursor wearer of this frog ninja suit or whatever it is. And so you basically have them all deciding to go ahead. We don't actually see them taking on the gnolls, but we do see them heading back toward, where this Tone's Grave is, and they're going to take on these two bosses, these figureheads, as well as the Black Dragon, and it's all kinds of badass. I mean, if you've never watched an anime episode in your life, you would have to search this one out and check it out for the just badass action sequence toward the end. It builds up to this great crescendo where you have Froggy Nardo on display. His abilities, you basically have, Konami and Iri cornered by one of these two bosses that's kind of like a Medusa effect. He's like these snake creatures coming out of his, cloak or whatever. And he seems to be made up of them. Paps is his name. Kind of a hilarious name. But all amidst this, what blew my frickin' ever-loving mind was there were summons involved. You have KR summoning this gigantic ruby red dragon, which is what gets them to Tone's grave, you know, because they had not gone along with Konami and such. And they came in just as like a cavalry at the last moment when they needed to. Froggy jumped off and went after one of the boss, you know, ladies, a boss lady, I should say. The female of the two, put it that way. And then we see Iri summoning this, like, you know, water goddess or ice goddess akin to Shiva in the Final Fantasy games. And it was just balls to the wall. Freaking awesome. So by the end of this episode, you basically have KR, you know, catching up to the present and saying, I'm not sure what happened next exactly. Did they win the day? Did they not? You know, that kind of thing. Seemingly the implication is because Konami is still on her way. She's making her way back to Yamato, and he hasn't told Indicus at all. You know, he's questioned about that fact. Have you told Indicus this? And he's like, no. And that's what's going to make the homecoming that much sweeter, isn't it? You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, havoc is going to ensue when Indicus finds out that Konami is back in action and back in this realm. And I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm almost sorry that we're not going to be able to continue the adventures of Konami and her crew in the next episode, as the focus will change back to Minori and Toya. And they're apparently getting ready to set out on some new grand adventure. But yeah, what a badass episode from beginning to end. And my favorite in this series in a long time, really. I shouldn't say a long time, because every other episode is like my favorite of the week and of current. But this one stands, you know, apart from the rest, at least for me. It just felt really well-paced and well-plotted and action-packed, and I loved seeing Minori finally, and how vibrant a character she is. It definitely rubs off on you, you know, the viewer, the fan. And so yeah, bring on more. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 14 of Log Horizon 2 if you've seen it. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video and that it finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.